Hello and welcome to the May edition of the Furious Driving Q&A from the Patreons and channel members. This is the thing we're restarting where those guys can send in questions and I will do my best to answer them about stuff going on the channel and so forth. And then if you're not a channel member or channel Patreon, you hopefully get to see this over on Tea Break, where perhaps you're watching this now if it's a month from now, when it gets sent into the big wide world later on. Anyway, I announced this a few weeks ago this is the first edition, so got half a dozen or so questions, got them here on the iPad, so we'll crack on with a few things that people have been asking. So the first question comes in from Graham. Many months ago, you did a video with a murder cylinder lawnmower, yes, the petrol death machine. Whatever happened to that contraption? I was looking forward to a future video of superbly mowed lawns, but it wasn't to be. Alright, so this was the petrol death machine, which was a 1950s or 60s petrol lawnmower I bought during lockdown. Thought it'd be an entertaining thing to play with. I could never really get it to run, and it kind of worked okay, then it got less and less okay, and it became just a bit irritating, and it was very dangerous, and it really did smell bad. It wasn't running very efficiently, and also the dogs just make a real mess of the lawn. So it made the lawn look good when it cut it, but the dogs made a mess and it wasn't running well. So in the end I put it back on eBay and sold it again because it was getting more irritating. I did quite enjoy having it. But yeah, when the clutch mechanism kind of locked up, and I thought I can't be bothered to go and buy a new clutch for a lawnmower at the same time as buying many things for everything else, I decided that I would step away from that particular one. Maybe I'll get another petrol death machine in the future, because it was quite a nice thing. It looked a lovely bit of engineering, but yeah, I'll try and find a photo of petrol death machine to flash up so you can see what it was. Yeah, that was good fun, but yeah, needed a complete strip down and rebuild. Maybe one day we'll come back, we'll revisit petrol death machines. Right, next question. Hi Matt, I've been watching your videos for a while but decided to join the channel after the thoroughly enjoyable Volvo road trip. So thank you very much indeed. This is from James. Thank you, James, for joining the channel. I thought it was about time I supported you and your adventures. Thank you, I do appreciate that. Question is, how do I manage to enjoy so many cars? I only have 5, and I find it hard to find the time to enjoy them all. Which is a fair question, to be honest, because I know I've got cars which I really like and I haven't driven them in absolutely ages. What I try and do is split the tax, because a lot of my cars are less than 40 years old, so I do have to tax them. So I'll make a point of taxing a car and trying to use it a lot, and then after a month or two I'll put it on sawn, get a different car out and try and use that one, and having taxed it. The Rover 75 has just arrived on the fleet, and DVLA kindly took 2 months worth of tax at once, so that's at the front of the driveway and being used. The Volvo got that out and taxed that one for the Sweden trip, so that's also taxed. That's here at home, so that's being used. When things go over to the barn, they tend not to be in circulation, so they kind of wind up in storage. But if I've driven it to the barn and then sawned it, then I can leave it there and it's safe and I can ignore it for a bit, bring it over here. If it's a car is at home on the drive, then it's got a fair chance of being used. If a car's at home, it's easy to work on and fix, so sometimes the broken ones wind up here, but it's easier to drive them at home. So it's always a quandary: do I leave the broken ones at the barn, then have to go and drive somewhere else to go and work on it, or do I bring the broken ones here so I can just step outside and do 5 minutes of work and step inside again? You know, what do you do? It's always a difficult one. But no, I just try and make sure I tax them in rotation so that things get used. The problem is when things like the Rover Coupe, where the head gasket went before Christmas, well, it's not gone, it's just seeping oil. It's in the corner of the barn and it's not a priority because everything's in front of it, and it's difficult not to forget it, so I need to go and make sure I do go and do some work on that one before too long. But yeah, it's just trying to remember to use them. This one, the Mini, is taxed at the moment and it's on the drive, but it's behind the Rover 75, so this one does get forgotten, so I have to try and rotate them so the 75 will come back here in a day or two, so the Mini will get pushed to the front and used a bit. But I do try not to use this Mini too much because of the rarity value of it. Anyway, you know, just try and keep them all circulated, really. Okay, next one. This is from Davey, the Scottish car enthusiast and trains TV. Really nice Scottish channel, lots of interesting stuff on it. And he sent this just before the motorist meet. And this is quite a tough one to answer, actually. What was the best part of the road trip to Gothenburg, and perhaps we never saw on the road trip videos? Well, to be honest, you saw most of everything that went on the road trip videos, so you did kind of see pretty much everything. Didn't really hold anything back on that. Perhaps one of the... The best bit's hard to say. I mean, you could just say just being out on the road and the freedom of being on an adventure is the best bit, but there's all other things like the water truck thing that took us out on the river. That was huge fun. That was an awful lot of fun to do. The very random one, the hotel in Denmark in Fredericia, I think Fredericia, that was really, really good fun to stay in, because it's a really kind of cool boutique-y kind of place. It had like vinyl record collection in the downstairs area, so there's always like cool music playing and nice sort of coffee machine and stuff. That was just really interestingly decorated with lots of old retro tat. If you've seen the Olympus XA2 video that's over on the Clickbait photography channel, that one, I actually took the photos of that camera on an old roulette table that's in their lobby. So yeah, just lots of really fun, cool stuff that was in there. But of course the Volvo Museum itself was a really good adventure, and just getting to use the 740, because I haven't really used the 740 for anything exciting previously. So yeah, just so much to see and do. Right, next one. Now this was a question that comes up all the time on the comments and on social media as well. This is from Rob. Rob's, hi Matt, I suspect others will ask, but what's the story with the black P6? Now this one, yeah, is a perennial question that comes up an awful lot, because I sent the Rover P6 V8 off to CCK Historic a few weeks ago now, longer ago than I care to think about, because it wasn't starting, I couldn't figure it out, and they were going to sort it out for me. Anyway, it disappeared, and there was a video on that, and they have got it started, which is brilliant. It ran, and they solved the problem. I'll come into all of that in a video very, very soon indeed. Well, as soon as the car comes back, basically, or as soon as it's revealed back to me. But then they immediately found a second problem, which they are going to go and sort out for me as well, because I wanted the car to be in a position where I could literally drive it off the lorry, sort out all the other odds and sods, and then just drive off and get the thing MOT'd and keep on driving it, not bring it home as a still non-running car, because that's kind of, yeah, the entire point of shipping it away someplace else. Anywho, the problem is they are a classic car and sports car restoration place, and they've only got a couple of ramps. It's not a huge place, and they've had a couple of long-term things that are hogging the ramps, and so they need to get underneath it to sort my car out, and so they need to get a couple of other projects moved off the ramps, and so mine's kind of in the queue because they were able to sort the engine out on the ground without using one of the ramps. So I'm basically just waiting on something else to finish so my car can get on the ramp, and then I can reveal all. But yeah, the engine now runs, the car isn't usable yet, but it's going to come home soon, and hopefully, and basically I'm just waiting on the garage. As soon as the garage gets their bit done, then I can go over and do a reveal video and show the thing actually working, which would be fantastic, and I'm really, really looking forward to that happening. So right, yeah, so yeah, that's a big thing I'm waiting for. Now next one, this is from Tim. He says, hi Matt, do you struggle with the sheer number of cars? I've got 4, a Volvo S70 I use every day, and 3 Saabs, only 2 of which are MOT'd and 1 is in bits and never gets a look in. I struggle to find the time to look after the 3 on the road. How do you manage? Thanks for the videos, as always. Love the 740 and R8 stuff, and the Crown Vic. There are no Crown Vic. All the best, Tim. Okay, well, the thing is, yeah, it's tricky. I struggle as well, but what you do is you make it into your actual job, and then you can spend as much time as you want fixing all the cars. But even then, I still struggle to find time, because there are jobs that I don't get to, because I've had door card pockets for the Volvo 740 just there, and the new radio, or the repaired radio, to go back into it for a couple of weeks, ages in fact. But finding a few minutes to go out and actually do the job is quite tricky, and there's always something. Like when I was this long weekend, my plan was to make a start, or make a finish in fact, on putting the wing back on the W123, which is in the garage just there, because I want the wing back on that car before the Rover V8 comes back. But of course, when I went about, but I took the road, but then I took the Crown Victoria for the MOT, and then discovered the rust in that, and so yeah, things just went horribly wrong, and then the weather changed. So yeah, it's tricky. You try and do a bit of clever time management, try and get cars I want to work on in the right place to be worked on. So for example, the Freelander is now over in the barn because it's a nice flat concrete surface, so I can jack the thing up on 4 axle stands on a safe flat surface and run it in gear, so I can find what's grinding in the wheels or wheel bearings, figure that one out. Yeah, it's I struggle as well. Even no matter how many cars you've got, it's always an issue. Last question, not a huge number of questions, but this is the first one. This is from Paul, bit of a 2-part question. Are there any more road trips planned with the fleet? Obviously family life and work takes priority, but just curious if there's any more plans. Second, nothing to do with cars, how's the solar panels working out for you? After watching your video, we eventually took the plunge last month and got a 15 panel setup with battery system. Still getting used to the slightly changing how we do things, but so far delighted. Well, part one, nothing actually planned yet, but I definitely have ideas in mind. I mean, every year we do tend to do like a Eurocamp family holiday into France or Italy or somewhere like that. Just jump on a ferry and drive into Europe in the modern family car. Like last year we went down to Lake Garda. Wouldn't mind going back down to the Atlantic coast this summer, because the Vendée part of France is really interesting. Nice beaches, nice countryside, nice food, and along the coast you've got the Airbus factory and you can do tours of that. You've got the shipyards where they built the Queen Mary 2, and that's quite a historic shipyard going back a long way, built like John Brown's and Holland and Wolff. It's on that kind of pedigree. You can do tours of that. And they've got the submarine pens from the Second World War. That's a really fascinating thing to look at. And they've got a really good car museum, so I wouldn't mind doing another trip down there, but with the family that would be in the new Mercedes, because yeah, Mrs. Furious, well, she's done a couple of road trips in old cars, but I think if it's an actual holiday, she would not want the risk of an old car doing what the Volvo did. Oh yeah, that's another great thing I forgot to mention. All the best bits of the Gothenburg trip. Meeting Adam over in his collection of Jaguars, being towed by a 1975 Jaguar. That was another highlight of that trip. So many highlights. When you have a trip as feature packed as that, you kind of forget stuff when people ask you, even if you're sitting there thinking about it. So yeah, I would love to do some more trips like going to the factories where other cars are built. So maybe take the Alfa down to Milan. I think that's built in Milan rather than the south. I need to check that actually. When the W123 is done, I'd love to take that back to Stuttgart. Barry, who came along on the Gothenburg trip, he's also got the yellow 123, and if he can get his one done, we could do like a 2-car convoy of W123s to the Mercedes Museum. So I have ideas, but nothing's actually in stone at the moment. But yes, definitely got more plans and more intentions, because I love using them. Going for a road trip is the best, and it's what cars are built for. Second part, solar panels and 15 panel system. That's a pretty hefty setup. It's working out very well in terms of usage. We kind of changed the way we live at home, and to a certain extent, in that we make sure we put the washing machine and the dishwasher and that kind of stuff on during the daytime when we get the maximum output, so we get the most free power for those kind of heavy use things. We've also got an air fryer now, and we basically never used the main oven, so everything goes in the air fryer, which uses far less power as well, so our actual power bill has dropped down really low. The last couple of months they've estimated quite high for us for some reason, I don't know why, but we keep on giving meter readings to sort it out. One thing we have got a problem with Octopus Energy is that our feedback tariff, sort of 5 months in, still isn't activated, so we're throwing tons of free power back into the grid and we're not getting paid for it still. I'm emailing a couple of times a week and I'm getting nowhere with them. I don't know what the problem is. Yesterday, for example, I looked on our thing, I only used 2 kilowatts or 2.5 kilowatt hours of power in the daytime because we'd been out quite a lot, but we'd exported over 3 kilowatts to the grid, and that's just money we're throwing away. So for the most part, really liking it, and the battery does mean we use virtually no power overnight as well. So, and as the summertime comes up and using the lights less, it's going to be even better. So we absolutely do need, I'm going to up my level of emails to Octopus to sort of 1 or 2 a day. So yeah, really good. I'm glad you're enjoying yours as well. I'm sure you're going to get really good use out of it. I don't know where you're on the country, but yeah, it's definitely worth doing. Absolutely. So this was the first Q&A video. We're going to try and keep this into fairly regular, trying to do about once a month, to give you an update also on the new password for next month's questions to be emailed in with, and also on the update for the discount code for furiousdriving.co.uk, because the perks of being a Patreon or a channel member are partly you get to send in the questions. The Q part of this Q&A comes from members and Patreons, and secondly you get 10% off Furious Driving. So if you are a channel member or a Patreon, if you use the code the checkout on furiousdriving.co.uk, you 10% off whatever your order is, so take advantage of that. That will have expired by the time this video goes live to the general public over on T-Brake. Right, thank you very much indeed. If you want to send any more questions in for next month, then please do, and yeah, enjoy the videos, and we'll have the members and Patreons weekly update going on middle of next week, Wednesday I think. It was, gosh, 2 days time. I better record that very soon. All right, see you all later. Take care. Have a nice rest of the weekend and goodbye.